So anyway, like I was saying about the ADV course, it was a really good learning experience. There's some times where I had the 360 camera on and the instructor is telling us like little hints and trips and stuff. Tips and tricks. Jesus Christ. He was giving us some pointers on what to do, like on certain sandy sections, and when we went over the logs and stuff like that. And I'm sitting there going, yeah, like he's talking directly to me. But yeah, I got the first 3 hours on the 360 cam. I guess you could be interested in it or not, but I'm just gonna post it up. I might edit just a little bit of stuff out of there, but for the most part, it's in real time, and it's, you know, that's pretty much what happened. That's the whole thing on the whole ride. So, you know, if you like it, give it a thumbs up. If you don't like it, just scroll right past the next one.
Everybody seems like they can stand up and sit down, which is obviously a big one. I think we won't get into this today, but standing, if you can, gives a lower center of gravity to the motorcycle. So if you can and have the option to, especially on dirt roads or slippery or in sand, in my opinion, if you can help it, If you can keep standing, it'll put your center of gravity way down here low. If you have to sit, your weight and your gravity's up high on the seat, almost 3 feet taller. Okay, so the more you stand, and I know they're big bikes and everything else, but I think when you stand, it'll help you with the input. And then I can easily push, see if I can see back there. I can easily push on a right foot, left foot, and put input on my motorcycle, where if I try to turn like this, that's where the front end is going to want to wash. So if you use the handlebars to really turn it, especially when it's rolly or slippery, especially in turns, which I know is on everybody's list, including mine, it's easy to try to turn the motorcycle and it want to wash the front end out. So the number one crash, whether you're a dirt bike guy, adventure guy, street bike, the front end washing out is our number one crash, always. 90% of the crashes will be the front end washing out. So if you can get so you can keep the weight on the middle of the bike, and we'll get into this a little more after our little ride, but just to tell you on the sand, and standing in a smooth throttle. Where we get in trouble, especially in sand, as we go, if you can keep it smooth and steady, that's your best chance. Once you get squirrely and we chop it, the weight goes on the front end, and that's where we start doing the, I call it Swerving Steve, because my name's Steve, so that kind of is easy to remember. And you don't want to do that. If you can stay steady, even when it gets a little squirrely, keep a steady throttle. You don't want to pin it, but you don't want to chop it and put all the weight on the front wheel, which is going to make the loose sand even heavier and looser to make you crash. Does that make sense? So a steady throttle is going to be the big one on sand. And since we just saw it immediately, I wanted to just specify that a little. Yeah. But the good news is kind of that feel, if you will, is kind of how I ride these everywhere. It's almost like I do in the sand. I mean, I can sit down and it's a lot more traction. Yeah, you can yawn and be like balanced and not scared for your life like you are in stand. But in the same, I'm in that neutral position, and we'll talk about it when we get back after this little ride. Clamps and attack position a little bit more, so you have your strength and your balance. And then the last one, which we'll talk about a lot also, is keeping the bike perpendicular. We're all got the bikes perpendicular now, or else they'd be tipped over, right? So the more straight up and down you can be, the more your weight and the knobbies of your tires or these adventure wheels are all connected. As soon as you lean it over, only one or two of these bottom knobbies are actually touching the ground or tires. So that is the number one spot, is going to be in corners where you throw it away, because there's not as much surface area. So, and we'll get into the whole thing, but I call it the acceleration, braking, and cornering. So there's a bunch we'll jump into, but everybody's doing a good job. But keeping the bike perpendicular, and then standing and using your feet for a little more input when you don't have the ability to steer as much, and smooth throttle will help you go straight, especially on these big heavy bikes. So good. Let's keep cruising.
How's our spacing?
Yeah, it seems good. You know, we're going obviously slow, which is good, and I like that. Personally, I would be a little farther back. Okay. Because if somebody sees something or crashes, you have the ability, and if somebody crashes right in front of you, you're probably gonna have to grab the brakes. And if it's gravelly and you're leaning at all when you grab the brakes or can't stop it, you're probably gonna fall also or run them over. So I always like to go a little more, because I'd like to not have to trust the person behind me or in front of me as much. So I want to be my own. I don't want to crash if I can help it, but I don't want to be caught into somebody else's crash. Even on a dirt bike, I'll try to take a different line. If they're going in the corner there, if I can, they might crash, and I'm glad I'm in a little bit different line.
The thing I've noticed with the adventure bikes that we've never been able to do with dirt bikes, all of us have horns. So I found this really useful. Like if you see something, like somebody falls over, use the horn.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Yeah.
Well, this next part of the trail is going to be a little more primitive as to even what we came on here. We're going to go across a dry creek that has a nice, you know, gradual downhill and uphill, and then we'll turn right and go up over to some of the real scenic parts of this ranch. But it does get a little more primitive out here, so this is about the best road you'll be on.
So on that stuff, the other thing too, and that's what we're going to work on, is still being in control and smooth. And we'll get into all this, but 80% of your stopping power is your front brake. But a lot of us, as we jump on motorcycles, any motorcycle, grab it the first time in a panic, and it washes out, and we go on our head, and we go, that's the dumbest lever on the whole motorcycle. I don't want to use it again. And even the dirt bike people even more, because a lot of them are training with me because they want to be pros or be faster. Well, if they don't use their front brake, they're not ever going to be very fast, because the rear brake just skids behind you if you think of it that way. So you never want to use it though, you got to trust it. Never want to use it when you're turning or on slippery surfaces or leaning, because it'll go away just like that and you'll be on your head faster than you can blink, right? We've all done that move. So you want to be really smooth and control with all of your controls, especially respecting it. But to his point, when we go down some of these dips, the whole idea is to stay a little slow to begin with. You can always slow down or go faster if you need to, but these are nice smooth stuff. But the main thing you want to do is just keep a little bit of smoothness and momentum on these, but it'll be fine.
We'll stop before it just so if anybody wants to have a look at it.
Yep. And if you don't want to do anything, that's fine too, and that's why we have so many instructors too. We can just stay there and then we'll be coming back or whatever. So no judgment on anybody for sure. All right, the idea is to have fun and be safe today. Sounds good.
top of this hill, but then it gets more firm once we get to the top plateau.
This is where the baby sand is that I was talking about.
Baby sand, yeah.
Yeah, let's stop over there by that, and I want to explain that a little to somebody. job, guys. So a couple things. When I look at this, obviously it depends on the bike, what you're on, especially if you have knobby tires, if you have street tires, or which tires you have on, for one. But for two, when you look at it, you obviously scan, you obviously see the two main trails that you can take, right? Where the Jeep's gone over it. You can see, obviously, it looks like it's a little bit soft, maybe a little softer on the right. The center looks like it's got a little bit of a rut in it, just scanning it. So you want to scan. The idea is to scan, in my opinion, and again, a lot of this is similar stuff to dirt bikes, but I will scan way back, make an educated decision. I'll probably look at even 5 lines. I could go right and almost hit Steve on the dirt bike in the grass. I could hit the next line to the left, like the right tire of a vehicle. The middle line, which obviously is probably going to have a crown, which would be pretty unsafe if I groaned or got sideways on it. The left looks really easy. And the far left, if you carefully didn't get pulled over because the off-camber into the tree, you could go far left. So there's kind of 5 options that I see immediately. Obviously the simplest, easy 2 that you can see. And I judge the scene as a big asset. Because even though the grass was probably a little more traction, there might be a stump or a rolling rock or something I didn't see that I'm over there and it takes my front end out, and for no real reason. So again, this potentially, you know, could be super easy for you, or it could be a little more difficult depending on your level. But the main way, and I say this again, I don't want to keep saying it all day, but obviously a lot of the dirt bike stuff, the #1 way you won't make a hill is to not try and go fast when you have time to go fast, where you can use momentum to go up it. Most of us are scared of a big, say it's a steep, really gnarly hill on a dirt bike. Well, if I barely go at it, I'm probably going to be stuck on it and come back down, right? But if I go at it and attack it and go as fast as I can when I can, then 9 times out of 10, my momentum will get me up over it. I've already failed before I began because my mindset isn't to go all in to try to make it up over the top. Does that make sense? Same with these. If you go a little, you don't want to have to floor it, of course, but if you carry a little more momentum, that when it gets slippery or starts sliding, that'll get you up and over instead of having to pin it where it's the steepest part or the sandiest part. Does that make sense? So I want to use momentum as my friend, always. So, and we all use momentum, right? These slow or going 1 mile an hour balance drills are super heavy and hard. We go 3 miles an hour, we're all laughing and going, this is the easiest thing that we've ever done, right? We go 30 miles an hour, we're like, this is even easier. I can ride with 1 hand or no hands for 5 seconds if we wanted, because you have the gyro effect of your wheels and momentum. So really be thinking of that. And if anybody doesn't want to do it, well, you know, we could go around a different way or whatever, but I would probably quickly analyze it, decide way back here. The other thing that gets you in big trouble, just like on a dirt bike, if there's a lot of ruts in a section that's real rutty and deep rut, I call it paralysis by analysis. You're going, oh, Steve, go left, go right, go left, no. And then I'm coming into it and I'm a little off balance and I cross rut and then I crash or tip over or get stuck. So look at it, check out the environment, make an educated decision, and then go for it and get up and over it. See yourself going up and over the hill, no problem, or up that mountain cliff, no problem, to mentally prepare and to actually commit. A lot of crashes, even anything, are because of non-commit, right? And when we second guess, and even some of you probably do jumping, the reason you come up short on a double is because you never committed. You're like, I might do it this lap, I might not. And then you jump and you splatter on, you're like, I never committed. And of course you're not going to make it to the landing. You got to commit, and it's better to even over jump it usually 9 times out of 10. So the commitment level. So yeah, let's check this out. Anybody have any questions on it? I mean, this one's pretty self-explanatory, but it's a lot of similar stuff we'll look at, I'm sure, today. So cool.
Looking a little too far ahead of myself. That sand got me right there. I was like, oh.
So the other thing that's interesting, and I've got to be honest, I didn't know this either, but Jeff said, one of the good trainer adventure guys, and I've watched and done a lot myself, but he said in sand that's so easy to get stuck in, he goes up into second gear,
Yeah.
and it keeps you just from sitting and spinning. So I'm not sure what gear you're in, but even on that start, like you just got stopped right there in the little sand.
I was in second, but I was going too slow, so it stalled.
Yeah.
Oh, it did stop.
Yeah.
On these
That's
bikes,
going that
to
slow.
get going in deep sand, like seconds too low, you have to start in third.
Okay.
Like if you start in third and gradually hit that friction zone, it'll just drag you out. But second will just dig a hole.
Okay. So you're saying with obviously the gas and slipping the clutch longer.
Yeah, like if you stop,
Yeah.
third is like any deeper sand, third will get you out.
Excellent. Yep. Good. All right. Awesome. What do we got going on up there?
There was another rut that I didn't see, just on that left-hand side. I don't know if anybody else hit it,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
there's a rut before you hit the main.
Yeah.
Yeah, little
Yep.
washout thing. Yeah.
Uh huh.
I hit it too.
Yeah.
So seeing that is good, and then you knew how to hit it, and it had like a.
Well, I
little
didn't see it.
Oh, you didn't.
Failed to analyze.
Yep.
No analysis paralysis for Dave. Way to go, Dave.
Just
Didn't see it.
yeah.
Bubble out. We're going to be on two track like this. Just past this fence, it goes down a hill and turns and then goes back up a hill. It's not a severe hill, and it's got better traction than right there.
Yep.
But it is a squiggly as
That's
it's
a
going
little
down and
chicane
around.
ahead.
So that's what you can expect.
So to add to that, any time that we get, like I said, I call it running over eyes, we get panicked or we get going slow because of something, our eyes go right here. And when you have your head down, I don't know if any of you are wrestlers or anything, but when your head's down, your balance is off. So if you get your head up, your peripheral to the actual surface of the earth, your balance is 10 times better. So if you keep your head up, I'm always saying, pull your head up, pull your head up, pull your head up, and that'll get it so you're looking ahead. Even if you look down a little to tell what's coming up, but then keep your head up, keep drawing an imaginary marker with a permanent pen on the actual line you're going to follow with the front wheel. And that'll help you looking forward and driving and going exactly where you want to go. Two types of riders. One, the bike rides them. The second one, you ride the bike, the motorcycle. Okay, so you want to be the second one. But a lot of that comes from the eyes in drawing your line so you know where to go. If you don't know where to go, you'll end up anywhere, and a lot of times that'll stick out and stuff or get off the trail. I'm literally, and these are obviously different than a dirt bike, but similar. When I'm on the dirt bike, I want to, from the moment I hit start to the moment I turn it off, I want to be within the width of my front tire of where I want to ride that motorcycle. Because I know if I'm off by a millimeter or an inch, especially in deep ruts or whatever I'm riding, it could crash me really easily. So be thinking that, even though a lot of this stuff is super easy, still pay attention, because it's the easy stuff usually in my case, in my experience on a dirt bike, that quite often can tip you over or bite you, because you think it's easy, so you let your guard down. Instead of just being always clamped in the attack position and looking ahead. Even on this thing, it looks like, well, easy peasy, I would be thinking about lunch. No, pay attention and put your wheel right where you want it. And get used to that. Then when you get to technical stuff and you need to be on that exact one line you're drawing, and there's lots of rocks or sand or whatever, you can hold that line because you've been used to going where you're looking and where you want to go. Does that make sense? As soon as you get squirrely, we look everywhere, wherever the bike's shooting us. But if you can still focus that, even with a little squirreliness, that's where I'm going. It'll help you have a point of reference to drive to.
That's good advice for what's coming up.
Okay, yeah, exactly. You got to keep looking ahead.
You need to find your spot.
Yep, exactly. So think that you got that permanent marker. Remember the fishing pole or whatever goes way out. On these bikes, you know, and even going this slow, really, I'd at least be at Steve's front wheel on the KTM way up there, looking. And why I'd be that far is that it helps my balance and it helps me keep looking where I want to go. If I'm any closer and it gets faster or there's a switchback that I didn't see, then it's going to surprise me and make me panic and hit the brakes and then go off the trail. So keep looking and always look where you want to go. Never, ever, ever look where you don't want to go, right? It seems so simple, but we've all done it. You look at the pothole or you look at the tree in the woods and you hit the tree in the woods. So you got to analyze it's there, but then look beyond it. Decide which way, make an educated decision like that, and look where you want to go always. I've been sideways on my dirt bike with big trees like these behind us, fourth gear pin, drifting, both wheels sliding, and if I lifted that tree, I would have went right into the tree. But I looked past the tree on one side or the other and would miss it 9 times out of 10. So we target fixate on stuff, right? And that's where you get in trouble, especially if it's something scary, like a bulldozer with a blade coming at you or something. You got to know, like, okay, I don't want to hit that. I better look to one side or the other. So, all right, awesome. Let's have some more fun.
Got stuck.
So, real quick on anything that, obviously a log or anything like that, or even those, the biggest thing is always on the bikes, no matter what motorcycle you're riding, is to keep it perpendicular. So if you go up over it and already off at an angle and come down at an angle, that's where it's going to want to knife you, right? So make sure, we saw it a long way in advance, smooth, perpendicular, and the smoother you are, the easier it is. If you hit anything at an angle or come down at an angle, that's where these bikes get really heavy and it knifes your front end and then you tip over. So just as perpendicular as you can be.
Just a bit of a learning point for me.
What?
Just a little bit of a learning point for me.
Yep.
When those are wet.
Yeah. They're definitely not so good, huh?
Yeah. You definitely do not accelerate, and you definitely hit it straight on, because you don't know which direction you're going in. You may not be going any direction because the front wheel may be stuck between the crossbars.
Yeah, I agree. I've hit them wet and they're not good. Any questions up to this point on some of this stuff? I mean, we're going to keep ramping and learning, but okay, excellent. Everybody's doing great. So a couple things real quick on like, as we get, because we're gonna work a lot on corners. Any of the corners, the biggest thing is to see it and to know the radius of the corner. The ones that bite us are the ones we think are just gonna be a 90 and they turn out to be a 180 or more than a 90. The other thing is once you get out of the actual two-track of where the vehicles go and you get in the center, sometimes that's where a lot more of the rocks are, or on the edges, right? So the two tracks usually are going to be smoother because the vehicles threw all the loose rocks off of those spots. Not that there can't be some stranded rocks in there, but in general we all know that that's probably going to be the safer spot to be. When you do, say, come in, say it's a right-hand corner like this one we're looking at, but you're going too fast, you're in the right-hand lane, you can't slow down or turn enough. When you go over the center, that's where you got to be careful, because if you panic and you start drifting off the trail, you're going to keep going that way, right? So if you do start sliding, you can't stay on the actual two-track, like in this case, like way down there by the two white posts, and you start drifting over because you're doing too fast. If you do anything erratic, you're going to be on your head, right? If you panic and slam on the brake, especially the front one, while you're leaning, you're going to lose the front end. So the idea is to be smooth, which we're going to work on once we get back to the barn, but being smooth on all the controls. And the second thing is, if you do have to drift over, don't take your eyes and go, uh-oh, I'm off of my main line and I'm drifting. Then quite often we look way too far off the trail or the track or the road, and we look where we're going to end up in the trees or off in the ditch, right? I don't know about you guys, but I've even done that even on that adventure ride, which I know better, because I'm like, Steve, don't look at the cliff, and I'm like sliding and on an off camber and a semi coming the other way, and I'm like, don't look there, because where I'm looking, I'm going off the cliff. So I still keep looking all the way through, even if I'm sliding a little, keep looking where you want to go. Don't do anything drastic, or once you do, you're going to lose your edge of your tires, you're going to be on your head. Which, if there's a cliff, definitely crash on the road and try to stay on the road. But, or you could downshift and just send it, and then it would be kind of fun, and it would be a cool video.
It's so much easier to recover the body if it's up at the top.
Yeah, there probably won't be a bottom.
So if you notice yourself drifting wide, and inevitably you think you're going off the road into the ditch, because the answer to just keep weighting that up, push the bike and weight that outside foot, or is it, I mean, what's the corrective action once you get to that point?
You're on the dirt.
Say again?
You're on the dirt. You want it's the opposite of the street. You want to weight the inside peg.
You want to weight the
But
inside
you also
peg?
want to put crack on crack. You know,
Yeah,
we'll get to that later.
Yeah, and to initiate it to your question, in my opinion, we push down a little more on the inside one if you can. You got to be careful you don't knock it out. But the more you push to get it there, and then it will be in your tires leaning like this. You're sliding, and you gotta try to push it down on the inside a little. But we're saying crack on crack, which means your body can be a little more upright, which puts weight perpendicular down on the inside of your tire. Will help it finish the turn. Does that make sense? When we lean in with it, then all the momentum's leaning in, and we don't have any perpendicular on your tire. We're leaning this way, and it will slide out a lot easier. That's the number one crash we all do. So we're going to work on that. I'll explain it a little bit better, but that's the big one. If we can get these tires, we're all bored to death. Not bored, it's beautiful out here, but bored when we're perpendicular and riding, right? We can be thinking about a million things. Where we get in trouble is when we have to lean in. And I've got another cool way that I've learned that a road race guy was teaching on how to predict how much trust you can have on the lean of a tire as well as the braking, and he adds it up to make a 10. Right? If you have like 5 on a lean, you can only get sometimes, if it's on pavement, this is different than this, but you can only get so much of a braking also while you lean. Does that make sense? A lot of these things on the street. So street's a lot more. The number one thing with street that helps, even though there can be a little different conditions, 90% of the time the conditions are way better, way more